still maybe do the training because there's no action items.
Yes. I think there's a question for you, Aaron.
What do you think? I don't know. I think it's an idea that I'm entertaining.
What was that? Sorry.
So if we don't have a quorum, we can still do the training, correct?
Because there's no
Yes,
action item.
you're not taking any formal action,
Okay.
Right. That's what I thought. So we're going to,
so it's fine.
right. So why don't we move along with the training and say there's no quorum?
Well, did
For-
Melissa respond?
No, nothing yet. We'll wait. And if somebody responds,
Because I'd like to give
send
her.
me a Zoom link, please. You have a Zoom link?
Yeah, give her another 5 minutes at least.
Yeah, it's 7:09 to 7:15.
No, she's not coming. She wants a Zoom link. Who do we get? How do we send her a Zoom link? Can you guys send it on her email?
Hey, Aaron,
Yes.
can you possibly send Melissa Ford the Zoom link that you received?
We're having trouble with the email.
Yeah, you want me to, I can barely hear you, but I can put those links in the chat. Is that what you're asking?
Send them to Melissa Ford, like email them.
I cannot hear you.
Email the,
Can you email the links to the Zoom to Melissa Ford? But she can't hear me.
Let me just drop a chat for her, honestly.
Funny stuff. They're getting popcorn in that land.
Technology's doing its very best.
Yeah, I know.
Wally, if Dan had a
Makes
real
us
hard
look like
time
a
trying to
fool's.
dial it in, he had to like
I think we all, I mean, I'm up for either way. I can do it either way, but I think we all have it have the training as a link. Could do that and review and Q&A with Aaron at the next one. We're also missing Ryan, who's new, who would benefit from the training. And if it's, more Robert's Rules of Order type stuff, then I don't really.
We don't have anything on the agenda for that. Really. Just approval of minutes and not approval of minutes.
It's going to be interesting. Proceed to be like, okay, then not quorum, but proceed.
Yeah, just to, I get.
He's good. She's got it.
Okay, she's sending a link to Melissa.
Are you on Zoom on your side?
Yeah.
Cool.
Zoom's going. I just haven't started recording it. Yeah, because
Oh yeah, that's the Zoom.
Is there a call-in telephone number?
Brad would know that, yeah. But if that's Melissa, she should be getting a link very soon now.
Link an email?
Yeah, Aaron's emailing her.
No question. I received a link about something related to my PFD filing.
Right, that's a P, what?
Not PFD,
PFOD.
POFD.
POFD.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have?
Yeah.
You gotta file every year with the finance disclosure
Okay.
for political office,
I
APOC
sent
or
it to
something
her.
like that.
I kind of got the
She
gist
did
of that,
too,
but I
yeah.
wanted to ask before I started going down the route. And
Yep.
Yeah,
before
you
that,
go
I
in
was
there,
wrong rabbit hole.
My Alaska under services.
Okay.
Didn't take long.
Didn't take
No
long.
big deal. Just wanted to make sure it wasn't,
And for us, it isn't as invasive as it is for like city council members and
Yeah, well,
government, real government officials.
Somebody,
it all starts
Aaron
tomorrow.
said it?
I did too. We both did.
With a Sandy Foundation, you can build something.
Yeah, she
Except
emailed me
Sandcap.
at 7:15, but I'm not logged into my email, so. For 7:12.
Who?
Melissa's on.
All right,
Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
perfect, nice. All right, we got a quorum meeting at 7:13 PM. Want to call the roll, clerk?
Commissioner Ford?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we're calling roll. Commissioner Ford?
Here.
There you go.
Commissioner Jennings?
Here.
Commissioner Oden?
I guess excused.
Excuse,
Commissioner McCann?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
here,
Commissioner Burker?
Oh, I can't hear you.
excuse. Can you hear us now? That better?
Hello?
Hello.
Say, Melissa's got a better connection than I do.
Yeah, listen to that. You can hear it all.
Ben can hear you guys real well.
Okay, so actually I can hear Aaron perfectly fine. I can't hear anyone else.
Can't hear us at all. Okay.
Not recorded.
See, look, it's on Melissa over
Not
here.
recorded.
Mute.
But it looks like you are.
Melissa's
So
muted
I
over
think
here.
that's so their microphones are muted. That's what that means.
Just
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's saying that what they're saying won't come through versus our screen shows. does
She's
not show that,
muting,
so-
she's muting.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
How is this, Melissa? Yeah, this, yep.
Well, let's get going. So I guess a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
Second,
You got it. No second.
any discussion? Any
No, I'm
correction?
just pulling it up.
Nothing?
Second.
No, so you got motion.
Melissa, if you can hear me? No?
Right agenda.
We can't really hear Melissa and all that, but
She can't hear us.
Call the roll.
yes,
Commissioner Jennings?
Present.
Nope.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aye.
yes,
My
Yes.
mistake. I heard call the roll.
Commissioner Oden?
excuse,
Commissioner McCann?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
yes,
Just be better here.
Okay.
And Ford.
What?
And did you do Melissa already?
Commissioner Ford?
yes.
Yes,
She can hear
Yes.
me.
All right. Good.
Let them answer themselves, please.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Now we got the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes from January 6th.
I'll second motion.
Any discussion?
Which one?
No,
No, sir.
Okay.
nothing. No corrections, nothing.
You call a question?
Commissioner Oden?
Excused,
Commissioner McCann?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
yes.
And then Commissioner Ford?
yes.
Commissioner Jennings?
Yes.
Thanks, passed.
So what's next?
Citizens comment?
Historic preservation. There's nothing though.
Nothing. Citizens comments. That's not it. I forgot to grab it before. There it is. I know. It was right there. Do we have any historic preservation? Any activity from Aaron? Probably not, but gotta ask.
No, I don't have any updates for the historic preservation.
Oh, thanks anyways. Communications from anybody? Citizens comments?
I would just like to welcome our new building inspector, Jonathan Fuentes, and our new deputy clerk, Wally, who's clerking his first meeting. So
And I'm zipping through it in unorthodox fashion, but welcome. Good to see you, Wally.
It's beautiful.
Switching around like musical chairs. All right. So we got a training coming up. So you want to take it away on the training, Aaron?
Sure. This is our third of 5 training sessions that we have planned. Tonight we'll do 2 videos. One is on staff reports and the other is findings of fact. So the first video is about 30 minutes long and is on staff reports. So it talks about the use of staff reports and application materials and how to use those effectively, what information they can provide and how they're put together, and that sort of thing. And then the other video is shorter, that's 11 minutes, and it's about findings of fact and why that process is very important, especially as it deals with public hearings. So we'll cover how those are used, and again, why it's important to really disclose what those are and how it links together with the code. Brad sent out the PDF, I think yesterday, of the presentation that will include the slide deck and all that. So that really is all we have. For those of you, I'm not sure if we've got new planning commissioners in the room, but just to remind everybody, these are all, we've got links to all of this, so if you want to review some of the ones that we've gone through the last couple of meetings, we're happy to share those.
Okay. Take it away.
I feel like this is the next challenge of the evening. This will be fun.
See if we can get a roll.
Can only do our best.
We can do it.
Do we want to keep that on the right-hand side?
Yeah, I got a screen share though.
Want to put that on the right side? This time will come on in a minute.
This one doesn't start.
30 seconds. Yeah, the one that you're. He was thrilled.
Governor of the toddlers.
Hello, I'm Michael Blue, and we're here today talking about how to build a better staff report. I'm here with Bonnie Johnson from Kansas University, and we're going to start by just talking about, Bonnie, why is the staff report important? Maybe you've got a story or an example that tells us.
Well, a staff report is important to a planning commission because it's the background information, the analysis that the Planning Commission needs to really evaluate an application and make a decision, make an informed decision of to approve, deny, approve with conditions, or continue to a future meeting a particular application. For myself, I was a practicing planner for 8 years and wrote tons of staff reports. But then later on, when I went back to graduate school to get my PhD, I became a planning commissioner in my own community of Lawrence, Kansas. And so it was really when I became a planning commissioner and all I had to rely on were those staff reports that I really started to understand why they're important and how a planning commissioner uses them. And so I was a graduate student working on my dissertation. And so like many planning commissioners, didn't have a lot of time. And so I would read the staff reports often I have to say the night before the meeting and try to figure out what's going on. And I found that, I'm no longer immersed in the city's comprehensive plan. I no longer know the zoning ordinance inside and out. And so I had to rely on that staff report. And I just felt like the rest of the story was missing. And I would then come to the Planning Commission meeting and feel like I don't really know what's going on. And I thought, if myself being a former planner, I'm struggling to really understand what's the right thing to do. What's the amateur planner who really doesn't know about planning? What's it like for them?
So that creates a situation where the staff report's got to cover a lot of ground, yet it's got to do it efficiently and make it easy to read. And I spent a little bit of time as a plan commissioner as well, and I know that you get that packet and you open it and you're excited to see what's going to happen, but you're kind of hoping it's not that long because there's a lot going on. So we'll cover some ground on how to find that balance point. But so maybe we could start by talking about what makes a good staff report, right? So what should always be in one, and how do you distinguish between a good one and one that's not so good?
Okay. Well, and I should say that how I've come up with this, what makes a good staff report, is after reading over 250 staff reports from all across the country and from little towns and big cities. So I have put in my time with staff reports. And what I found most useful and what seemed to work really well is it's essential to have a cover page, and not just any cover page. The cover page should be that essential information that a planning commissioner needs, that, if they don't read anything else, they have that. And so that cover page should have some kind of background information, the property owner, the location, maybe even a small location map, where this application is in the city, and kind of information on the property, the land use, the surrounding land uses. But then the really good cover pages also have a small summary of what is this application all about. And then the other ones that are really good have the recommendation on the cover as well. And so, it's really is, here's the pertinent information. And then the rest of the staff report fleshes that out and gives more information. But you've got that good cover page that, covers the bases. Also, what makes a good cover page is there might be things that your particular planning commission is interested in, like the arterial road fee or floodplain. And maybe that goes on the cover as well, because the planning commission's always going to be interested in that.
So we know that staff reports are going to vary.
Yes.
What they include, how long they are, all that. But the idea of a cover page that's there if somebody doesn't have the time to read the whole thing, or if during the meeting they want to go back and kind of catch up on something they didn't remember.
Right.
That cover page is key. It's a real tool for the commissioner.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And I've even seen one cover page where the staff put a proposed motion as well. So really just think about that as what's the essential information for the Planning Commission, their cheat sheet, in other words. And then you can start getting into more details, particularly the analysis of how does this application fit into the future plans of the community? I mean, that's really the heart of why we're doing these staff reports, is what does this mean for the community? And we have these plans of what we want to be in the future. How does this application fit in with that?
That's
And
great. So set some of the context. It's not just a building on a site.
so I think that's essential for the staff report to do. But then maps. That you can show a lot with a map of, you know, where this is, what's the context, and photos. I mean, it used to be that it was a big deal to put a photo in a staff report, and you even had to go and take slides to show a slide at the meeting. Well, now digital cameras, camera on your phone, you can go out to the site, look around, take photos of the surrounding area, things that are pertinent, and then put that into your staff report. And that can, you know, those sorts of photos and maps can save you a lot of words, and help people understand what you're talking about. If you're talking about erosion in the floodplain, well, show it. The planning commissioner can then see, oh, that's what they're talking about. That does look like that's a problem. So maps, photos, and then putting it into easy to navigate format. So have a template where, you know, the usual information is in the usual places, maybe tables that show how does this meet our arterial road impact fee? Does this impact schools? What neighborhood association is this in? Kind of those sort of checklist things that you can put in a table, and those are always in the same place.
And over time, a staff member will learn, you know, the commission always asks about this, or this has been an issue in the community, or last time we talked about it. So making sure that that's in there and easy to find almost as a checklist or a checkbox.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's good for the planning commission. So the planning commissioner that's really interested in schools, and they wonder, well, did the planners really check on the impact of schools? They can see, oh, yeah, they did check. So that's helpful to have that in there. And then you can do things to help make it easy to navigate, like I say, those tables that can be almost like checklists, and then have sidebars that have educational information. If the commission hasn't dealt with the tree ordinance in a while, well, you can put in that sidebar, here's our tree ordinance, here's why it's important. We started it in 1992 when the beloved cottonwood tree in the middle of town was cut down. I mean, you can kind of educate people with those sidebars as well. And then use a box or highlight things to show this is really important. Some communities on their staff reports put the recommendation in a box. So it's always easy to find and just make it easy to navigate.
Let me go to something we were going to talk about a little later, but you mentioned a few times the recommendation in a staff report. Not every staff report has a recommendation. Not every town likes or wants there to be a recommendation in a staff report. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what you found regarding when and why staff reports have recommendations and maybe some of the pluses and minuses.
I, as a practicing planner, had always worked for a community that they wanted a recommendation. So when I started doing research around the country, I ran into communities that they didn't have the recommendation in the staff report. And I then would call up the planner and say, what's going on here? And they would say, oh, our planning commission doesn't want us to put a recommendation in there. And I thought, oh, what's going on with that? And it really is that the planning commission, they are the ones, and some of them don't necessarily want that recommendation ahead of time that would color their thoughts. I mean, they really want to make the decision themselves. And it also makes it clear to citizens, the applicants, this is the planning commission and then the city commission or city council making the decision. We are in democracies, and it's other citizens making the decision. It's other citizens telling the property owner, this is what you can and can't do with your property. It's not a bureaucrat or staff saying that. It's other citizens. And there's something really powerful in that as well. I can see the flip is the planner is sitting there saying, I think about this all the time.
Yeah.
I often have a master's degree. I know the plan inside and out. I make it my business to really know the community, and I want to share that information with the Planning Commission through a recommendation and really share my expertise. So I can see from the planner's point of view that, and many planners go into the profession because they want to help. And so let me help you, let me give you my expertise. But it's really going to be each community figuring out how they want to use the expertise of their planners, how that would be shared, that sort of thing.
So there's no right or wrong. There's not you have to have or you can't have.
Right.
It's a local preference that develops over time.
Right.
Maybe something that it's worth the planners having a discussion with the staff, with their elected officials or their plan commission or maybe the administration.
Yeah.
So let's go back to staff reports and let's talk about what you talked about. Some of the things that make for a good staff report. What are some of the pitfalls that you've seen looking at all those staff reports that you think people should avoid?
Well, one of the big pitfalls is no maps or maps that really aren't helpful. I mean, there's some maps that they'll show the location of the site, and it's so zoomed in that it's a building and that's it. And if you're not really familiar with the community or that particular location, that map's not going to help you very much. And it seemed like a lot of the staff reports would have a map of that particular location, but not where it was in the city. So having a map of where it is in the city is a good thing to help people, visualize it. Also, no photos. Just to be able to give people a visual idea of what's going on in case they haven't been able to go out and look for themselves. So no photos is an issue. Repetition. We kind of as planners get into, well, we've got the background and then here's our analysis. And then we, in the analysis, go over the background again. And so we're repeating ourselves over and over again. And that just makes it to where there's so much that a planning commissioner has to wade through. And then they're starting to gloss over things because, oh, yeah, you told me that. So trying to be efficient with that sort of information is key so that you're not just repeating yourself over and over again. I think in trying to create this legal foundation for decision making, planners often just dump information into a staff report. They put in everything, including the kitchen sink, and it's too much. A planning commissioner is trying to be very diligent, and they'll get this 80 to 100 page staff report and like, oh, do I have to read it all?
Yes, every bit of it.
And they might give it a good try, but then the whole point of the staff report gets lost in all of that information. So just that being very efficient and not just throwing everything in. Remember the point of the staff report. We're trying to get across information to the Planning Commission so they can decide what's in the best interest of the community. So keep coming back to that and focusing on that, and that should help you cut down on the repetition.
You mentioned the 100-page staff report. Is there a right answer for how long a staff report should be? Is there a too long or a too short?
I do wonder about the 80 to 100 page staff reports. Is that really helpful or not? Because you do always have the file as your kind of foundation for the report. My colleague and I have done a study of staff reports, and we've looked at, we created a staff report evaluation tool where we just listed the traditional things that are in a staff report. and then some modern things that go into staff reports and some modern ways of formatting a staff report. We took that tool and evaluated staff reports from across the country. And we discovered that lots of pages didn't necessarily mean that the staff report hit those items on our evaluation tool. We found that the ones that seemed to do a good job of hitting kind of the traditional items, property owner, do they have street access, kind of those traditional things that you would have in a staff report. And then the ones that would do some formatting, things like having tables, having photographs, things like that. Those sorts of reports, they fell between 5 and 10 pages. So kind of 8 pages on average was what you needed to have good coverage, but then also have your maps and your photographs, because maps and photographs and tables are going to take up more room. They're going to add pages. So don't be afraid of, oh my gosh, we're getting to 10 pages. Well, part of those 10 pages are some great photos, some great graphs that are going to help people understand what's going on.
And what about the importance of a consistent layout, right? So that if I'm a commissioner, if I get a report meeting to meeting, it kind of looks the same, or there's that same structure. Have you found there's benefit to that?
It really does help a planning commissioner know, you know, I'm always interested in floodplains. Let me turn right to that. I'm going to look at that. I had a planner talk about thinking about a staff report as not something that you're going to read from beginning to end. Think of it as sort of like a web page that you're going to click around for what you find most important. If you have that consistent layout and consistency in where you're putting certain information, then a planning commissioner can, in essence, click around to what they find most important.
So for the planner that's preparing the staff report, you'd said earlier that planners got into this, they want to help, they want to show the insights that they've shared. What's the role of the planner? So as they prepare the staff report, are they the facilitator? Are they the scribe? Are they the advocate? What role do they play in this whole process?
I think that particularly with staff reports, planners can kind of get into the facilitator or processor role, that I'm the person who's accepting the application, I'm reviewing it, I'm getting the report done, and that can start to appear very bureaucratic and kind of be off-putting. But I think that when planners think of their role as, actually, I'm an advocate for the community, that can really breathe life into staff reports. You know, coming back to, why is this important? What difference does this make to our community? And it's not necessarily being an advocate for the developer against the application necessarily, but it's an advocate for the community. This is what our plan says is important for us to do. And nowadays, so many communities do regular surveys. And so you even know what your community's priorities are based on surveys. And so the planner knows the community and can really be that advocate for the community. I also think that staff reports can help planners lead. It's a new thing with the American Planning Association to focus on planners as leaders. And that's an uncomfortable role for some planners, where we actually are very dedicated to that the planning commissioners, the city council, those are the leaders, and we help them. But we can help them by also leading, putting out suggestions, those good ideas that we run across in other communities or that the American Planning Association brings to our attention. We can put those into staff reports to say, it sounds like that in the past we've struggled with tree preservation. That's essential to this application as well. If you're interested in changing the ordinance, here's some things we're thinking about, and we could have a future study session on that.
And I think that's a terrific point, because I know a lot of planners, when we write staff reports, we're a little concerned about saying, the city needs to do this, the city needs to do that, and that can appear a little bit out of place. But the idea of saying, if the city council is interested, or if the commission is interested, here's what you might want to do. We used to say, should the council consider adopting this, even though maybe the staff thought it wasn't, here are some conditions you might think about adding to it.
And the planning commission and the city council might decide, no, tree preservation not so important, and that's okay. But the staff is still putting that out there, and it's also these staff reports. If you think about them, they are the regular way that planners communicate with their planning commission and their city council month after month after month. And if that's your main communication tool, I mean, really use it to your benefit and add in that additional information, that educational information that really takes advantage of your expertise.
A staff report doesn't just include the work of the planning department or the community development department. There are other departments that are involved in the development process. What are some good ways or some things that you've seen in your work regarding how other departments become part of the process?
And that's the important to remember, that in staff report isn't just the planner. It's the staff, it's public works, it's parks and recreation, it's police, it's fire. What I always enjoyed when I was a practicing planner was that meeting, that plan review meeting, where the representative from the fire department's there, police, building inspections, code enforcement, we're all there looking at these applications, and then I'm taking all of their information and putting it into my report. And so to be able to have that in the report to show it's not just me, the planner, saying this, staff is saying whether this is a good idea or not. It's also that you as a planner can't know everything. I mean, you really need that expertise of the engineer or the building inspector that's been there for years, and just bringing that all to the table. And so in a staff report, you can have a checklist where it has the comments from the other departments, or comments even from other agencies like the Department of Transportation, things like that. And you might have to decide how much to leave that into the main body of the report, or how much to perhaps put that in an appendix or attachments. But you can always direct people, if you want to look at the utilities comments on this application, see page 20 in the attachments or something like that.
Part of the zoning approval process are the standards that the community has against which to consider a variation or a special use. How do you find that those are incorporated well into a staff report?
I think those things can particularly come into play when you're writing your recommendation and you're justifying that recommendation. You're saying, here's, we're recommending approval, here's why. And really coming back to that, that it's not just the planner making these things up. There are concrete reasons why the recommendation is the way that it is. And then also coming back to, again, why this is important. Why is this important to the community? It's important to the community because we have these regulations, we have these plans. We've decided in the past that this is important for us, and then here's how with this application we're meeting those expectations or not. And
sometimes a zoning case can end up in litigation. And how does the staff report play a role in that, or should it, or should we always be anticipating that there may be litigation, or is that something that maybe is just in the background and not necessarily a main concern with a staff report?
I think that concern that any application at any time could become a court case is what makes it to where planners just dump a ton of information into the staff report. I think if you kind of think about, we have a template where it's helping us remember everything and again, show that, well, we checked this, we checked with Public Works, we checked with our ordinance. I mean, that's all in there, and that you're trying to, with the staff report, be fair. I think that a good template where you can make sure you've covered your bases and maybe do it with a check mark versus a ton of text. And then, always coming back to, well, is this fair? I think then your staff report is going to serve you well if you go to court. And then also, again, having a good record in your file of what your correspondence with the applicant, things like that. That's your backup.
So we've talked a lot about staff reports, and I'm sure everybody who's listening is now turning through their staff reports to see how they did. Any suggestions for how somebody might go about evaluating their staff report or the way they've been doing it?
Well, one thing you can do is the staff report evaluation tool that myself and Ward Lyles with the University of Kansas put together. We have that available. And it really is just a tool to evaluate. It's not even good or bad. It's just, here are all these different things you could have in your staff report. And so take your staff report, go through the items on the tool, and then decide for yourself, your community, oh, do we also need to add that in? Or, oh, that would be a good way to format that. So you can use that. I also think using your planning commission as a focus group, even just having at a study session, a discussion about the staff reports. What do you like? What do you not like? What comes to mind when you hear the word staff report? Just kind of having that discussion is useful. You can also, I would say, go back to a staff report for a case that maybe had a split vote or was controversial. Take that staff report, rewrite it in 3 or 4 different templates, 3 or 4 different formats or ways of presenting the information, and have the Planning Commission look at that and then say, okay, does this change anything? Is this more helpful? And they might say, well, I like the way you presented the background information in template number 2, but the way you did the analysis in template number 3, I really liked that. And so it gives the Planning Commission something to respond to in some different examples and options. And then you can kind of redo the staff report with that input from the Planning Commission.
I think that's great advice. Staff reports are always written on deadline.
Yes.
And that can really be a challenge. And so the things you've talked about in terms of kind of systematizing and the checklist and that, I think, can really help people. But what you're suggesting too is that don't get stuck in that as a format. You end up relying on that and going, oh, I don't have to start till Wednesday.
Yeah.
But to keep it kind of a living document or a living effort using your plan commission, I think is great advice.
Well, and since you're often doing those staff reports every month, try something different. 1 month, do the staff reports this one way, see how the Planning Commission responds, see how the public responds. Next month, try something else, and just see what happens, what people like, what they respond to.
Great advice. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time and sharing your insights and your research and helping us help people build a better staff report.
Well, you're very welcome. And staff reports are so important that we shouldn't forget about them.
Agree. Thank you.
The national organization that is devoted to creating communities of lasting value for everyone. Our more than 40,000 members are made up of planners, commissioners, public officials, educators, students, and engaged citizens who are committed to creating vital communities. 40% of our members have attained required education, professional experience, and passed a rigorous exam to become certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners. The Planning Officials Training Program aims to provide the essential information, insights, and sound practices applicable to better decision-making for those who serve as appointed planning and zoning officials for their communities. The use of planning officials throughout the presentations is a universal term used to group audiences of elected and appointed officials, planning commissioners, and boards of zoning appeals. Each state may vary on the term used to distinguish these members. For that reason, this program references planning officials and commissioners interchangeably. Throughout the videos, we use terms to describe these officials and their actions that may differ from what is used in your state. Though the terms may differ, the lessons are universal. There is no one-size-fits-all training for planning officials, so check local state codes or state enabling legislation for relevancy to your community. If there are any questions about what is appropriate or legal in your community, we encourage you to ask your local staff.
Hello and welcome to Plan Commissioner Training. I'm David Silverman. I'm a partner at Ansel Link in Chicago. In a prior life before becoming an attorney, I was a practicing planner. I'm going to be going over various legal issues that you as Plan Commissioners need to concern yourselves with. And whether you're seasoned or whether you're new to a Plan Commission, we hope that you find this material helpful as you proceed with serving your communities in the very important role of being Plan Commissioner. So it's important to understand that a lot of what you do is shaped by state laws as maybe defined better through court cases, and how those legal principles, which are derived both from statutory law and again through case law, shape your role and how you operate as a plan commissioner. The first thing we're going to talk about is findings of fact and making findings of fact, and the importance of making findings of fact. We represent a number of communities, and I can tell you in our own experience, it varies. But one thing we try to emphasize is the importance of making good findings of fact from what you glean from public hearing processes. We'll also talk about ethics. So with any form of zoning relief, there is a set of standards that an applicant needs to demonstrate in order for a plan commission to make a recommendation to the corporate authorities, your mayor, your village board, your mayor, your city council, whatever it is. That's your role. Your role is you have delegated authority from the municipal legislature to hold public hearings and make findings of fact so that you can make an informed recommendation. In findings of fact and standards, these terms kind of get bandied about kind of carelessly, frankly, and I'm guilty of it too. But really, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're making these findings of fact based on a set of standards that are outlined in your zoning code. So the purpose of the findings of fact is not only to, frankly, constrain your operation as a plan commission, because your jurisdiction is limited. Your jurisdiction is specifically provided for in your zoning code and sometimes again by state statutes. But they are designed to elicit information on matters of import pertaining to the type of relief the applicant before you is seeking. Special use permit, sometimes also known as a conditional use permit, a map amendment, so known as rezoning, maybe a text amendment, in rarer cases, variations if those fall under your jurisdictional purview. But they balance the rights of property owners and the needs of the community. And again, they constrain your jurisdictional authority so that your recommendations don't go up to the legislative body in an arbitrary and capricious manner. So they help frame the discussion you're going to have at your public hearing between you and the applicant and members of the public who choose to come in and provide their own testimony. They're also designed to ensure for a fair process and a predictable, not a guarantee of a result, but a predictable decision-making process. They also should align with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. And you as a plan commissioner have an expectation, a very reasonable expectation, that any applicant coming before you for whatever relief is going to be prepared to show that the standards for the relief they are seeking are met by the evidence they're prepared to present, the evidence that they may be asked to present in response to concerns from the public, and any questions you as a plan commissioner may have about their application. It's very good when you close a public hearing and you're in your deliberation phase trying to determine the recommendation you're ultimately going to make to the legislative body of your municipality, to refer to those standards. Again, they are a good way to frame the entire conversation and ultimately the vote on a recommendation. It's also essential to have good findings of fact that meet the standards of your code as well as state law, in the event that a decision is ultimately going to be litigated between the municipality and the property owner, or perhaps even objectors to the relief that was granted. So some common examples of standards for findings of fact are compatible with the trends of development in the area, the neighborhood, perhaps the entire community, consistency with the comp plan, that it will not adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare, that there are adequate public utilities to serve the proposed development, and that they won't have a negative impact on neighboring properties. And certainly one of the bigger debatable points when you, of course, are sitting in a public hearing and neighboring property owners are coming to you, telling you that it's going to exacerbate traffic issues, it's going to frustrate stormwater management issues, all the rest. And that's an important point, because when you're sitting in a public hearing and you're listening to the public with their concerns, and they are valid concerns, a lot of times you're not dealing with experts. It's the rare occasion that you actually get a neighbor who's a stormwater management expert. So you have to take those concerns into consideration, and you have to make sure that the applicant is aware of those types of concerns. But you also have to weigh in your head what's an opinion, testimony, and what is good, factually based testimony, perhaps based on the expertise. And there may be the occasion that objectors come with their own experts who are there to refute the testimony being offered by an applicant. And then that can create a very interesting conversation that could include cross-examination of witnesses and things like that. So in that regard, it's very good to have a managed process with rules of procedure for how your commission operates. So let's talk a few minutes about ethics. You are public officials. You are appointed to your position by your municipality to conduct public hearings and serve as gatekeepers to ensure that the comprehensive plan is being protected, and the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan are being advanced by different zoning applications that come before you. That can put a plan commissioner in an interesting position, not only with his or her neighbors, but also applicants themselves who may not live in the community. And you have to make sure that everything that you do as a plan commissioner is done in the context of the public hearing. And we'll get into this a little bit more, of course, when we talk about things like ex parte communication in a few minutes, but suffice it to say, there's laws in your states that you are subject to that ensure that you as a governmental official, and you need to think of yourself that way, is operating with the highest ethical standards, and that your actions are not somehow compromised by the actions of neighbors, the actions of applicants, or whatever. You sit in somewhat, if you think about it, you sit in somewhat of a judicial role because you're weighing facts and you're based upon the rules, you're making recommendations. In most cases, you're a recommending body, and then the legislature has final decision-making authority. It's certainly not true, and it's going to vary from state to state, but that's something, but nonetheless, as an important part of the approval process for what people can and can't do with their property, you need to make sure that you operate at all times according to the highest standards. And again, there are state laws across the country that govern that you are likely subject to. And if you have questions about it, you should definitely talk to your local attorney. But it's all set forth to make sure that there's confidence in government and there's confidence in process. And without these institutional controls in place, you could see where things could break down, and trust in government's a major issue right now nationally. And it's very important to keep your mind focused on these issues. And again, any questions can first be directed to staff and or your local attorney, depending on how communication flows through your government structure.
That's it.
And is abruptly.
And then, yes, just in time. So I'm going to move on. If that's it, anything else, Aaron, besides these two videos? Any comments? Anybody got questions?
I have a question.
Sure, hit it.
So I saw in there it mentioned recommendations can sometimes be listed on
Staff reports?
yes, on our staff reports. One of the few that I had seen that we had for a potential special, I think it was a special meeting to be called for something, it didn't have any recommendation on it. Is that something that we do? Is that something that we that you guys have had in the past? This is my
Different city clerks had different styles.
Okay.
Some in the past, yes. Some currently, no.
In the past, yes. Currently, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you all are interested in recommendations, I can start providing those when I do the memos for the applications. I think to the chair's point, I don't think we've done that in recent history with Nome. I will say in past lives elsewhere, I am used to doing the recommendations and find that helpful.
Yes.
Or I should say, I think that others have found that helpful. But certainly there's some pros and cons to that, because sometimes the commission, it kind of then turns into like, well, I've said this, and then there's like some conflict there. But so full disclosure, if we get to the point where, again, like happy to make the recommendations, but just know that my job is to kind of help outline. I think the last couple of videos have been great with this, but is to really kind of outline what the requirements are, but then also kind of talk about what the comprehensive plan is calling for, and kind of weigh all of that out and kind of tell the full story as it relates to documents that have been approved by the city, and then linking that together with any tests of code that are outlined in the Title 18, the zoning ordinance, particularly as that relates to any variances or conditional use or rezoning. So that, and then typically where I haven't made recommendations, I've said, I've written things like, if the planning commission moves forward with, with approval, I would suggest, these conditions be placed. So that's the sort of guidance that I've provided with the staff reports. But it's been a little bit hit or miss with whether or not I've been making recommendations. So, but that's an easy add for my perspective.
And sometimes we get recommendations from the John Blees, the engineering, depending on the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. Yeah, I just was curious if there was some avenue for us to see, is there going to be a consistent example of a precedent of when this, a certain thing would be accepted or, things like that. So thank you very much. That was
Yeah.
It's been a trick.
And I will say, just like they were talking about in the video, I certainly try to format the memos in the same, in a consistent way where I'll kind of like start off with the summary and then kind of give some background information about kind of what this is and, why we're talking about it, and then also go into what code says about it and the comprehensive plan site says about it. So try to walk it through logically to help you guys think through it.
All square.
Perfect. Anybody else? Any other thoughts, questions? Pretty good videos. With that said, we're going to move on to unfinished business.
Need a motion to move or no?
No.
Okay.
And I don't see any unfinished or new business on the schedule. So let's go to staff reports.
Can I ask a question? Just a general question,
sure.
Mr. Chair. With building permits that have been satisfied, work's done, is there an end process or does it just expire with the permit?
It's an interesting question.
So somebody applies for a permit. Let's take the first one, for example. They applied for it on 8/1/2024 and it expires on 8/1/2026. What if the work on 303 West 2nd was already done and signed off on? Does it stay on this list until the expiration date of that permit, or is it then closed out?
Or it can be archived into the archives, and which is done by the clerks after the CO is permitted to them.
So just in my mind, when the CO is issued, then that basically closes out that, in my mind, would normally close out the building permit, but it doesn't appear that way on the listing, probably.
Can I chime in? Sure. So, actually, this just came up. Normally in the past, when the CO was issued, that thing ended it. But an example came up very recent where there's a CO issued, so we archived it, but there is still some unfinished work to be done. So now, since we have a building inspector who is on top of things and who is going around town checking out most of, if not all, the projects that are going on, he's going to communicate more. So if he issues a CO, but we're not archiving it, then he's going to communicate with our office and we will archive it in a timelier fashion. So somebody, if they still need to pick up a few more items, they won't get dinged with the taxes. So,
as an example, kind of on the Nome Eskimo project that 3E just did, the state inspectors came, the fire marshals came, the engineers, the architects, and everybody did a walkthrough. I was there, and that was the final walkthrough. And so after that walkthrough and the permit steps were done, I submitted the CO, but there was still a punch list. So meaning that the building could still be occupied, but there still could be little touch-up things still getting done. And so in situations like that, we need to keep the permit open. And that was a very special situation that just happened recently. So besides that, pretty much it is closed completely, but in certain situations, they do have to put it open. For they don't create problems with the permits and created problems at builders, the company trying to get their taxes off their tools and stuff and just kind of create a situation.
So there's another example on here. So generally, correct, it's 2 years that a building permit is good for unless it's closed earlier because the work's complete. Unless like from under Andrew Harrelson, he did an extension. So at that point, you can do an extension on an existing permit for another 2 years. Sometimes homeowners projects take a while.
I just was more from the fact of not having still projects on the list.
Right.
Not as much
And there might be some times where I might miss one, like we might archive something and I forget to take it off the list. So generally I'll go through the list every couple of months just to make sure I'm not missing something.
And what I'm doing right now, new to the office, I'm going through every existing permit and I'm trying to close out as many as I can. So I'm going all over in town inspecting all these projects that have not been inspected, and the steps are like at the first few steps. So I'm trying to get caught up and trying to close out as much as can. The more we close out, there's going to be new permits this summer. So trying to get organized and find a medium somewhere.
We could probably call this part of the staff reports where he's commenting on his staff report.
This is perfect. Yeah, this is staff report. This is perfect.
Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Yeah. We used to get written staff reports from the city manager, written staff reports from different departments and all that, but we haven't seen them in a month or so. It must be winter. Hopefully they'll get back on track.
We will check on that and we will make a note to see if we will start getting staff reports from everybody again.
I doubt you will.
I said we'll ask, okay?
Would be nice. I guess we're going to commissioners' comments. So he calls them, right?
Commissioner McCann?
Good training, good meeting. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. I think it would be really helpful as well to have the recommendation, mainly just the fact of Aaron knows that community plans, so well and has been involved with it for so long. I think having that aspect of tying a project to a certain element in the community plan, even if maybe it doesn't meet a part of the existing zoning codes or ordinances, but it's moving the community in a direction that is identified in that plan, I think is a pretty good mitigant when we're looking at those kind of things. And I think she knows it better than anybody. So I think it'd be nice to have on there.
Commissioner Jennings?
Appreciate everybody being here and Melissa for making quorum tonight. Thank you. Thank you guys for taking care of this, and sort of Inspector to being around so much and diligently tending to some of the needs of the community. It's an unending list. So thanks very much. And to Aaron, thank you as well. I look forward to seeing some of these things. I do wonder if this recommendation is, I'm glad that we're talking about the fact that there's some awareness of public perception in seeing the word recommendation on some of this. It's really nice to know where it stems from and kind of what it alludes to. I imagine it'll be rare and far between, but I would like it if we had the opportunity to see that recommendation and maybe examples of exceptions, if there are any, or if it's, again, few and far between. And I, don't foresee anything specific coming up, but just for the sake of extreme clarity and almost to an obnoxious degree, ensuring that we don't pose any potential of tainted waters, kind of, because that, in communities large and small, it seems to be something that is easiest to avoid through clarity. And everyone here has been wonderful to work with thus far, so I don't expect any issues. But I would like to see that when possible. And I appreciate you guys bringing it up. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing on this route. And thank you guys for your time tonight. Welcome back.
Commissioner Ford?
Thank you for putting together this training, Aaron. It's
helpful. I've been through it once, but it's always a good reminder to be reminded, I guess. Thank you. I would like to point out that it is required to have your house number on your house. I also think it should be required that we have street signs that we can use to find places. And I'm gonna keep harping on that until I see some changes. Thanks.
I have seen a new sign. So last summer. Commissioner Smith?
Well, thanks everybody for coming. Great to have Johnny, new building inspector, come. It's nice we get recommendations and stuff before. We'll get them again. Staff reports we used to get, hopefully we get them again. I really appreciate everybody's efforts. Good to have a new person from City Hall. Welcome. And next meeting schedule.
It's going to be March the 3rd.
Does that work for everybody? That's before I did Rod. Just when it's starting to heat up.
City Hall yet?
No, it should be right about there. Yeah.
If they happen to do, we will let you guys know in plenty enough time, so.
All right. Any motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second?
Any objections?
No. All same side.
What time are we on?
Thank you, guys.
What time are we on?